In early September, the city of Hoa Lam gradually cooled down after a sweltering summer. Light night winds brushed through rows of streetlights and the golden glow of lamps, with few people passing by at such a late hour. Around the central square, a lone public phone booth stood beneath a flickering street lamp. Around midnight, a young woman, about 20 years old, dressed revealingly yet looking haggard and anxious, stepped into the booth. Her hands trembled as she dialed the police. Her voice was weak and fearful. "Hello. Please help me. My name is Ha Vai. I've been held in an underground basement for almost 2 months. That man, he keeps..." Ha Vai choked on her words, unable to continue. Even so, her broken, hurried account of her situation was enough for the police operator to sense imminent danger. She said she had pretended to obey her captor, who forced her to serve clients so he could earn money, until his vigilance slipped. Then she seized the rare opportunity to escape, racing through the night until she found this phone booth. The Hoa Lam City Police responded immediately by dispatching a task force, coordinating with emergency forces. With Ha Vai's limited description, they focused on a small, run-down house in the eastern outskirts of the city, a place known for its deserted streets. Surprisingly, this location lay just a few hundred meters from a local police station. Yet the perpetrator had concealed his crimes for months. Ha Vai was taken to police headquarters to give her statement. Eyes brimming with tears, she recounted how she had endured constant violence and assault for nearly 2 months, all at the hands of a man who called himself Nam Luke. His underground bunker, she said, wasn't just for her, several other women were trapped there. Armed with Ha Vai's grim details, the task force proceeded to the old, run-down house in the East Bin area. From the outside, the structure appeared ordinary: whitewashed walls faded with age, a chipped tile roof, and a few cracks in the brick steps where weeds grew. Everything seemed lifeless, nondescript. Yet, stepping inside, the officers discovered a wooden hatch, about 1 square meter, painted to blend seamlessly with the floor, nearly invisible unless inspected closely. Beneath this hatch lay an elaborate setup of iron doors and locks, no fewer than 7 iron gates stretched along the descent. The underground space was some 4 meters deep, divided into 4 sections. One had to navigate a narrow, vertical chute, about 3 to 4 meters down and just wide enough for a person to squeeze through using a fixed iron ladder. Next came a horizontal crawlspace, nearly 5 meters long and only 60 centimeters wide. Finally, it opened into a cramped main room, about 6 square meters in area and over 2 meters high, subdivided into 2 smaller rooms. Each had a wooden loft for sleeping. Underneath was a rudimentary toilet pit. Despite its dampness and lack of space, the bunker had a makeshift kitchen with pots, pans, and utensils for daily cooking. There was even a small ventilation system installed. As the officers moved deeper, they heard muffled sobs. They discovered 3 young women, Phuong Trang, Con Lin, and Thursday In, clothes disheveled, eyes brimming with tears. The instant they saw the flashlights, they burst into hysterical crying, clinging to each other in terror. They revealed that 2 other women had been killed by Nam Luke in a fit of rage and buried in corners of the bunker. Forensic units quickly excavated 2 bodies, apparently dead for almost a year. In one corner of the main room, the police also found an old computer and monitor. With no internet connection, the device was used solely for watching movies and playing offline games, an eerie and cruel sort of entertainment that Nam Luke granted or withheld at his whim. Having rescued the surviving captives, the police discovered Nam Luke had already fled. Urgent directives were issued to every station in Hoa Lam and the surrounding regions. 19 hours later, Nam Luke was arrested as he attempted to escape on a long-distance bus traveling across the province. 34-year-old Nam Luke originally hailed from Tan Thach in Trung Ha province. He was a former soldier with commendations for excellence, had served in a municipal technical supervisory unit in Hoa Lam, and was married with an 8-month-old daughter named Little Lean. After leaving military service, Nam Luke was assigned to a local quality control office, a demanding yet poorly paid job. Not long afterward, he attended a 10-year class reunion, where he discovered that many of his former classmates had become wealthy entrepreneurs or high-level officials. Even the least successful had substantial savings. Confronted with his own struggles, his limited salary, elderly parents, an unemployed wife, Nam Luke grew bitter and resentful. Back home, he combed the internet for ways to get rich quick. While browsing late one night, he stumbled onto a paid adult site. An idea began to form: I could supply videos like these myself. That was when his twisted plan took shape. First, he lied to his wife about landing a new job, claiming he had to commute far and thus couldn't return home often. In reality, he rented an abandoned house in East Bin at a suspiciously cheap rate. Hiring various laborers separately, none of them fully aware of the master plan, he had them each construct parts of a 6-meter-deep bunker spanning about 20 square meters, split into 2 main underground levels. The upper level had 2 cramped bedrooms, and the lower level functioned as storage, a rudimentary bathing area, and a toilet. When the bunker was completed, Nam Luke set out to find victims. He frequented karaoke bars, clubs, and massage parlors, places where young women often hoped to earn money. Posing as a wealthy patron, he would take them out for dinner or a party, then offer a high fee for an overnight stay. Many women, lured by the easy cash or too curious to refuse, had no idea what awaited them. Once they followed him home, he'd bolt the iron doors, and their captivity would begin. One after another, Phuong Trang, Con Lin, Thursdayan, and others, fell into his trap. Down in that bunker, he resorted to brutal beatings to intimidate them from the start, then alternated between withholding food or water and offering minimal rations if they behaved. Every 2 days, they were given just enough to survive. Cut off from the outside world and terrified by his violence, the victims gradually lost their will to resist. Some tried to negotiate for better treatment in hopes of eventual release. For those who showed a semblance of compliance, Nam Luke allowed them to leave the bunker for work, in effect, to earn money through prostitution under his watchful eye. After every transaction, he would whisk them back to the underground prison, granting no chance for escape or contact with authorities. By this method, he amassed over 10,000 yuan each month, sometimes even 30,000 at his peak. Not all captives gave in. Among them was Kim Yen, one of the 2 who eventually died. She once attempted to fight back when Nam Luke was off guard. One day, as he entered the bunker to deliver food, Kim Yen grabbed a stray brick and struck him. Sadly, she was too weak, leaving him only slightly hurt. Enraged and fearing a coordinated uprising, Nam Luke tied her up and mercilessly beat her in front of the others. Even worse, he coerced some of the women who had personal conflicts with Kim Yen to join in, implicating them as accomplices so they wouldn't dare report him later. Another victim, Bitch Van, was plagued by severe gynecological issues due to prolonged abuse and could no longer work as he demanded. Nam Luke isolated her, denying her food and forcing the others to torment her until she withered away. After Bitch Van died, he buried her body right there in the bunker, hastily covering it with dirt, instilling even deeper fear into those still alive. The prolonged captivity took such a toll that some victims began to show signs akin to Stockholm Syndrome, developing a bizarre psychological bond with their captor. Because Nam Luke alternated threats, violence, and occasional rewards, some of the more mentally fragile women started to see his minimal kindness as genuine compassion. Disturbingly, a few even offered to get pregnant as a way to gain his favor, or in line with his plan to sell the baby for profit. Others, recalling the fates of Kim Yen and Bitch Van, decided it was safer to comply. This included Tran Mai, the one caught just before Ha Vai. She tolerated everything, clinging to the slim hope of survival. Ha Vai, the woman who ultimately escaped and called for help, was different. At 23, she was the last to be abducted. Realizing her life hung in the balance, she feigned submission from day one, even acting like she craved Nam Luke's attention. After 2 months of this charade, he allowed her to work outside late at night. Of course, he would follow stealthily from a distance to keep tabs on her. One particular night, as they turned into a deserted crossroads, a small group of late-shift laborers happened to pass by. In that instant, Nam Luke was distracted, and Ha Vai seized her moment, sprinting into a dark side alley. He tried chasing her, but she vanished. Too fearful to shout for help, lest he draw police attention, he simply scrambled away in panic. Ha Vai stumbled more than once in the darkness but eventually found her way to a public phone booth. There, with trembling hands, she dialed 113, the local emergency number, and the horrifying truth began to surface. As soon as the police raided the bunker in East Bin, they rescued Phuong Trang, Con Lin, and Thursday, and physically and mentally shattered, the young women cowered in a corner. Skin pale, eyes vacant, limbs bearing the signs of violence. They described the nightmare of existing below ground, deprived of sunlight, with limited water and inconsistent meals. Whenever Nam Luke descended, they braced themselves. Would he torture them, interrogate them, or force them to perform in front of a camera to sell on adult websites? He referred to them as his merchandise, profiting from their torment. Meanwhile, Nam Luke, who had managed to flee, was apprehended on an interprovincial bus 19 hours later. Sullen and tight-lipped, he gave little explanation beyond, "I needed money." Further investigation revealed incriminating evidence, countless videos and images stored on a hard drive, material he had sold on international pornographic platforms, alongside a ledger meticulously detailing the revenue from each woman's work, and the small compensation he gave to keep some of them in line. The ledger served as ironclad proof of his horrific crimes: illegal confinement, rape, and murder. Following a lengthy court proceeding, the Hoa Lam People's Court sentenced Nam Luke to death for multiple offenses, including unlawful detention, rape, and homicide. 3 of the women, forced by him to assist in violence leading to a victim's death, also faced prison terms. On the day Nam Luke's sentence was carried out, residents in the area were left stunned. How could such atrocities unfold so close to a police station? The surviving victims received medical attention and long-term psychological counseling. Though freed from the bunker, many carried deep trauma, fear of strangers, claustrophobia, panic at the sight of uniformed men, and difficulty recognizing day from night. A few would occasionally sit blankly for hours, staring into space as though their souls had detached from their bodies. As for Lai, Nam Luke's wife, she faced emotional collapse. The shock of her husband's arrest, the family's disgrace, and the unraveling of her life all happened in rapid succession. She could not fathom how the man she once loved, father to her child, had been a monstrous criminal, fueled by perverse desires. The "darkness beneath the earth" case shook the entire city of Hoa Lam for a long time. The city's chief of police and many senior officials publicly apologized to the citizens for their oversight. A heavy gloom shrouded any mention of that underground hell. Nevertheless, life went on for the survivors. They struggled to overcome their harrowing memories, determined to reclaim a future free from those dark confines. The municipal government of Hoa Lam also took measures to restore public trust, tightening security to ensure no second Nam Luke would ever emerge.